Legal business, for example, we're about to talk to Jerry Hayes, former Tory MP and barrister, of course. Trials without juries need to sort of start again, but judges should sit without them for criminal trials during lockdown, which obviously might cause a few problems for those of us who believe in, 12 good men and true, as it used to be said. Jerry, very good morning to you.
Good morning. It's good to hear your bright-eyed and bushy tail.
Well, I'm as ever, as optimistic as I've always been, Jerry, as you can imagine. But, I mean, I'm also looking forward to midday today when I'm told there may be a result in a certain case between Harry and Meghan versus my good friends at the Mail on Sunday.
Oh, but do we care? I mean, just shut up.
Yeah, really.
They just shut up.
I know. Listen, I can't help you with that. But listen, let's talk about jury trials, because I'm assuming, and my first question to you really is, has the legal business been sort of carrying on during the lockdown?
Well, in dribs and drabs. I mean, I've been on your programme many times warning that the criminal justice system was about to collapse.
Yes.
Well, it now has.
Right.
In fact, before the virus, Crown Courts had outstanding cases, trials awaiting, of 37,400. Now, because Crown Courts are very unsafe places, everyone's crowded together, we have had to abandon jury trials probably not until September time.
Right.
Now, that means people are not going to be earning any money. Now, all sorts of people think barristers are fabulously wealthy. No, that's if you do high-end civil and commercial.
Yes.
But criminally legal-aided people like me don't earn anything like that.
Right.
Now, there's been a survey. 31% of criminal barristers may not be in practice within 3 months. 87% will not last 6 months. And 70% of legal aid firms, which is solicitors, will disappear. So what do we do about it? We're going to have a lot of kids, and it's the young kids who are going to suffer, and the women who are just going to go bankrupt.
And also, presumably, it's not going to be great to have such a massive backlog of cases that you'll literally never get through them.
No, of course. Now, some people have been calling for an end to jury trial. Yeah. That, to my mind, is totally and utterly wrong. It is the cornerstone of our British justice system. Now, there may be a case to say, well, we can do what they did during the war, reduce the numbers of jurors to 7.
Right.
Okay, let's have a look at that.
Okay.
We can do virtual hearings. In fact, I've got a virtual hearing in about 8 minutes' time.
But you can't do a virtual jury trial, can you?
No, you can't. You just can't do it. I know people are trying to do it, but I tell you, in the little hearing that I'm going to do in a few minutes' time, we're going to have trouble with the technology, because it's pretty old technology. Now they're going to run out something new in terms of technology, and, I just have a nightmare and become a quivering wreck every time a government of any party rolls out new IT, because they always mess it up.
I mean, I've been quite impressed with the way they've managed to do Prime Minister's questions, though, to be honest. I mean, that actually has worked quite well.
Actually, it's a lot better as well, isn't it?
No. I'm much more in favour of the bear baiting.
Yeah, I know, because you're like me. We like the entertainment.
Yeah. I mean, I didn't think I'd miss Jeremy Corbyn, but I'd miss him already.
Oh, yeah, absolutely right. Just sheer level of income.
Starmer. I mean, God save us from barristers. I mean, no offence, but you know what I mean? He's another boring, sort of metronome-like, automaton. Yeah.
But, hang on, there's just one boot I want to put in a groin here, if I may. And that is the Inns of Court. All our chambers are shuttered up. We can't go in. We're doing everything as virtual as we possibly can, which is not going to last for very long in finances. The Inns of Court, we pay our rent of about £20,000 a month. They are not just not lifting a finger to help us. They want to increase our rents.
Yeah, unbelievable.
Now, what sort of lunacy is that?
That is ridiculous. Who's responsible for this?
Oh, well, actually, a friend of yours, for Middle Temple, Sir Brian Leveson.
Oh, yes.
All the press loves
Top man.
Brian.
He's a great man, Leveson, yeah.
Absolutely.
Well, he's quite sensible when it comes to freedom of the press. I'm not so sure he should be operating as a dodgy slum landlord.
Oh, God, I'm not going to say that, but you have.
Well, I mean, you're the one that told me to sit down to him. Why is he putting it all up?
But I mean, it is disgraceful. I mean, we laugh and joke about it, but a lot of the criminal bar faces oblivion.
Yeah.
And people say, well, who cares? A lot of people are guilty. No. If you are a victim of a rape or serious violence, you want the person who perpetrated this to be brought to court. If you're a defendant and you're waiting in prison for months before you can get a trial, You may have something to say about it. This affects everybody, and the government has got to help us, and the Inns of Court have got to help us. Otherwise, something which is so precious will just disappear.
Yes, and I think that is a very, very good thing to hold up to scrutiny, and I think it's something that we should be very careful of. But I suppose the trouble is, Jerry, in this weird world in which we currently live, you know, the people will say, well, there's a lot more things that need fixing before we fix that.
Well, that's right, until their daughter is sexually assaulted, their son is murdered, their daughter is shoved into custody for something they didn't do, and then all hell will be let loose.
Yes. No, I totally agree. So, I mean, at the moment, for example, if you are somebody who's been charged with a crime, normally you would be, say, remanded until something like, I don't know, I presume they haven't got any place to put you in prison, so you're remanded for 6 months, you're walking around. Presumably now you're remanded for a year, are you?
Well, it depends, doesn't it? Because I've been setting up trials for June, you know, since the beginning of the year. But they're not going to happen. They're not going to happen at all because the courts are not safe. In fact, before the lockdown, I just said to my clerks, I'm refusing to go to court.
Right.
Sometimes the conditions in the toilets were just, for the barristers, for everybody, were disgraceful.
Right.
Jurors were stuck in small rooms. So there's all sorts of inventive ways, like have a bigger building, perhaps hire a sports hall, do all sorts of things like that to get these trials off the ground. They've got to be done for the people, for the victims, for the defendants, and also for the poor devils like me trying to earn a living. I'm not getting any money in at all.
No, I know. Shocking state of affairs, Jerry. But listen, thank you for taking the time out to talk to us. I know you've got to run and do your case load, such as it is. Jerry Hayes there, former Tory MP, barrister, of course. He makes a very good point. You cannot possibly just dismantle the entire legal system simply because we can't figure out a way of making it work. That's not going to be the way forward. I've said this many times. What we have to do clearly and very, very soon is to work up a plan by which we live with COVID-19. We do not hide from it. We do not shrink from it. We do not say, oh, you can't do that anymore. We figure out a way of doing it. This is why I'm so surprised to see the results of our survey. 84% of people surveyed said they would feel unsafe visiting a restaurant or a pub if the lockdown is relaxed next week. Lots of you have got things to say on Twitter about that. Lots of you have got things to say on the phone as well. Tweet